Hey, Connor. You know, we've been talking about it. It's been coming up, and we have to get back to it.
No.
I know that like you've enjoyed the time off, but like it's important, and the people are waiting. So I think that maybe it's time to just take the snuggie.
No.
All right, listen. We're gonna do this. You gotta take the snuggie off, and we gotta get to it.
No.
Ron. Who are you?
Oh, I'm Josh's younger, better-looking brother.
Upgrade.
So you're his brother, huh?
I am Josh's long-lost brother from Russia. Now I have free food. I love comics. Captain America is #1. Is good?
It's good. It's good.
Da, vodka.
What if we give you a beer?
Okay. This episode of iFanboy is brought to you by GoDaddy.com and Netflix.com.
Welcome to... Oh, come on! No, this isn't right. This again?
Almost there.
You're both very close.
Welcome back to iFanboy, the comic book discussion show from the comic book website iFanboy.com. We're back from a little bit of a break. We want to thank everybody for being patient with us while we recharge, re-energized, and we're here. We're ready to get going.
And after this episode, we'll see you in 6 months.
I'm Ron Richards.
I'm Josh Flanagan.
I'm Conor Kilpatrick, and today we're going to talk about Captain America.
We thought we'd get patriotic with our comeback episode.
Well, Captain America is all over the comic book world in general, and he was quite famously killed off. If you watch the news or read the newspaper, you'll see everyone got angry about it. People who never read a comic got angry about it.
Never even read these.
And then he came back, and no one cared. So, or at least no one outside of the comic book world cared, because it's not as much fun to talk about. And so we're going to talk to you today about why Captain America is important, why he's cool, and some great Captain America stories that we love, so that if you are now thinking maybe I'll jump onto the Captain America books, or maybe I should read him, you'll have some history, you'll maybe know some books you can go back and find and read, or maybe you'll just be ready to jump in after the episode. So
And we're also going to talk about what's going on today.
Currently, all the stuff, why it's important. So Captain America was created in 1941 by Simon and Kirby.
Joe Simon, Jack Kirby.
He's one of the oldest Marvel Comics characters that are still actively being written and drawn about.
He was created
Submariner.
Created prior to America's entry into World War II as a patriotic character.
Yeah, and he was hugely important. I mean, there's a famous cover of Captain America punching Hitler, and the thing is that it didn't actually happen with the book, but that was also way before the war had started.
Yeah.
And so
he entered the war before we actually.
Yeah, it was making a political statement.
The war started, we didn't join.
Right.
Well, right.
Just
obviously.
People, the historical.
The United
States hadn't joined the war.
Everyone in Poland's going, what?
We were in the war. And during the whole wartime period, Captain America was Marvel's.
Is that not okay?
Marvel's most popular character was Captain America.
I mean, it's he's dubbed the Sentinel of Liberty, and I mean, when you look at him, when you look at that classic costume, which has changed very little since 1941, the big A on the forehead, the red, white, and blue, the star.
It changed only a very little bit right after it had come out, and that only had to do with the way another character looked. So when they went from the sort of
the triangle shield,
and that went to the circle shield, and that's about it.
Now think about how iconic that circle shield is. You see that red, white, and blue, and then the star. Across the globe, that's Captain America, and like that kind of recognition, it's up there with the bat signal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So to continue the brief history, after the war ended, his popularity waned significantly to the point where they just dropped him. They brought him back briefly in the 50s. That didn't take.
Weird 50s stories.
Yeah, the 50s Captain America didn't take. They got rid of him again.
Because Captain America.
Well, the retcon was it wasn't.
Yeah, it was originally Steve Rogers, and then supposedly the story was in the 50s wasn't him.
And then in the 60s, they finally brought him back in Avengers #4. Quite famously, he joined the Avengers. He's been associated with the Avengers ever since.
And one of the most classic bring back a dead character ever. He was frozen in a block of ice.
Yeah.
And they reanimated
in
him.
World War II, he was stopping a bomb from going off, a rocket, and him and his partner Bucky jumped on the rocket. He got thrown off the rocket, fell into the Arctic, froze. The rocket blew up, and Bucky died. And then we're back. That's where he is now. And he's Steve Rogers, and Steve Rogers is the He's the all-American boy from the Lower East Side in the war.
He's from Brooklyn, isn't he?
He's an artist. He's Lower
No,
East Side.
Lower East Side originally. Yeah.
He wanted to join the war effort. He was very patriotic. He wanted to be part of things, and they turned him away
He
because
was a bit of a milksop, if I remember correctly. He was
Yes.
scrawny.
He was
4F, I
4F.
believe they called it.
He was too skinny and scrawny to join the war, but he was so mentally
see his
tough.
ribs.
He was so mentally strong and tough. They saw a fire in his eyes. They offered him the chance to help the country another way by injecting him with drugs.
and he became the one and only super soldier as a result of stolen Nazi technology.
Call me crazy, but when I'm there in the recruitment office and they go, listen, you're not going to cut it. You can't join the army. But
Here's a really long syringe.
different time period. I mean, I understand it was evil and we wanted to help, but if it was
He was so determined to help
Yeah.
fight the Nazis that he was willing to do anything.
In World War II, he was part of the Invaders. There were a lot of stories done of that. Roy Thomas did a big run of
I have a whole long run of those.
at one point.
that was the
that
Human
was
Torch, Submariner.
It was the Human Torch, his sidekick Toro, virtually indistinguishable. The Submariner, Captain America, and Captain America's partner Bucky, or James B.
Plus, there was
Barnes.
there was some side. There was
Union
some
Jack
Union
was
Jack,
there.
and then the Spitfire. Was a lot of side characters around there.
Golden Age,
So
timely
he's really associated with World War II because he's a World War II character at the time. He's living in our modern world. And what's funny about Captain? First of all, he's my favorite Marvel character by far. And I don't know why particularly. I don't know why when I was a kid I latched onto him, but I did.
But if you analyze that, because your favorite DC character is
Batman.
and typically whenever they do the Marvel versus DC matchups, it tends to be Batman versus Captain America.
Right.
But it is a very dark versus light.
Oh, absolutely.
But it also has nothing to do with that. 'Cause when I was a little kid, they didn't do the matchups. It was just for whatever reason I latched on to Captain America and the Avengers,
No,
and that's
but as I say, the Captain America and Batman naturally line up
Yeah,
for some reason.
yeah.
So I don't know what that reason is.
But what's funny is that
They don't have an equal power set.
No, they
no,
don't.
not at all.
Captain America should
He's
have a...
Batman's much more lined up with a character like Daredevil.
Yeah,
Daredevil's not nearly as smart as Bruce Wayne. All right, this is a different episode.
No, but that's if you were really going to match him up. But what's funny is, first of all, he's like the most respected character in the Marvel Universe, right? Everyone looks up to him, and
that way he's like Superman.
correct. He's actually more the Superman of the Marvel Universe than anything. But what's funny is if you look at him objectively, like he should be a super joke. Like look at the costume.
right.
The costume is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the only reason we like the costume is because it carries so much emotional weight and history to it. Like if you showed it, I'm curious what they're gonna do with the movie, because if you throw a guy on screen in that
It'd be
costume,
tough. Well, they did once.
Well, that was
I saw that movie. It was
But
horrible.
so do you think they're going to take the Ultimates version with the helmet?
Probably
and-
more like that. But the thing is, if this character came out today looking like this, we'd all be like, what the hell is this
Yeah, because
ridiculous?
we're all cynical and you know.
But he's got so much emotional weight to it, and he has the history and the World War II aspect, and the fact that he's done all these great things throughout the years that we look beyond the fact that he's wearing this goofy flag outfit.
And he's also, like, from a comic book history standpoint, he's so closely aligned with Jack Kirby, who is sort of the father of modern comic book, superhero comic book style.
Yep.
Then that was their first giant success. I mean, to say he was a giant, he spawned lots of imitators. He's just a part of comic book fabric. And I guess if you grew up reading comic books, he's part of it, and you have to like him for that. When you say he's your favorite Marvel character, he's one of mine. He's probably my top two. Like between him and Hawkeye, those are my two favorites. And Hawkeye just wants to be Captain America, so I don't know what that says about me.
But I think it's interesting is that because we say Steve Rogers is Captain America, and that's we're going to talk about it a little later on in the show about how other people have worn the Captain America mantle. But the idea of Steve Rogers, the man, has really defined that as not some the costume and the shield, but also the actions of Steve Rogers, the leadership of Steve Rogers, his involvement in the Avengers, his involvement as a leader of the Marvel Universe, as the hero side.
Whenever there's a big cosmic event and everybody gets together, Captain America's the one front and center giving the orders.
Right, and he represents like the best of humanity.
Yeah.
And I think that's we were talking about some of this.
And he's the guy that always gets things done no matter what the odds or what the outcome. There's a great story we're going to talk to you later where he goes up against a god.
Yeah.
He's got no chance, but he's still going to do it because it's the right thing to do, and he never gives up.
And the tasty way to do it. I couldn't help it.
So
I think that's why I love him, because no matter what, he never gives up. He's never going to fail, even though he has failed. In his mind, there's always a way.
Yeah. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the classic stories.
Hey everybody, GoDaddy.com has what you need. And what do you need? Well, .com names are as low as $1.99 a month. They got world-class hosting, fast and free website builders. GoDaddy's hosting plans have 99.9% uptime, free 24/7 support, and no annual commitment. The private domain registration from GoDaddy.com protects your privacy by keeping your address, phone number, and more out of the public database. You can customize your own virtual dedicated server by choosing one of 3 popular plans or by selecting your own Linux or Windows server with all the plan options you might need. You can get a GoDaddy.com secure certificate for your website, and visitors, prospects, and customers will have total confidence in your online business. And if you're a podcaster or a video blogger, you're going to want a .tv domain name to stand out from the crowd. All this and more is available now at GoDaddy.com. Also, be sure to check out revision3.com/GoDaddy for all iFanboy's GoDaddy deals and codes.
That's old comics.
Now, Captain America's been around since the 40s, so there's lots of Captain America stories, and we can't talk about them all, but we're going to talk about some of the highlights.
No, let's do it. It's our first show back. Let's do it.
We touched upon how he came back in the Avengers and he was frozen in ice.
Yeah.
Those are classic. Go read those classic Avengers stories.
Stan Lee, Jack Kirby. You
Those
can
are
get
Avengers. Those are Captain specific.
Well, he's also very much tied to the Avengers. So but we're not going to talk about most of the solo stuff. So I have all these old. I did a mini on these a long time ago. iFanboy mini. You can go back and check it out. But this is an old bunch of Cap books I got at auction. This is actually the first issue of a Captain America comic, just called Captain America.
Captain America 100.
Yeah.
Interestingly to note, they had all these comics like Tales of Suspense, Tales of Astonish, and they renamed them but just kept the numbering.
Yeah.
Which is very different from how they do it now.
Yes,
They don't do that. They never do that now.
Yeah.
And what's great is these big Jack Kirby drawn tales of.
There's one cover.
Basically, Captain America is many things. He's a soldier, he's a superhero, and he's also been a spy. And he works with S.H.I.E.L.D. And there's a lot in these stories of Captain America and S.H.I.E.L.D. with his girlfriend Sharon Carter, who's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Nick Fury, who's the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., fighting Red Skull, fighting all manner of big villains, Batroc the Leaper.
My favorite issue,
teaming up.
Captain America 105 in the name of Batroc. My favorite villains, the French Leaper, Batroc the Leaper.
Teaming up with Black Panther. I mean, Captain America fits in so many different categories, which he's a very versatile character. And I love these big cosmic tales of the cosmic cube fighting Red Skull for supremacy.
Well, what's interesting is that when you think of Captain America, you think of political and you think of like military and things like that. And the Red Skull is his main kind of nemesis, his main kind of villain.
His German counterpart.
German Nazi kind of villain.
Super soldier, yeah.
But a big aspect of the Red Skull is he's always using that damn cosmic cube. And so it takes those stories.
Nazis are cheaters.
Well, Nazis are cheaters. Nazis get into the occult and things like that. And it takes these what should be military, political stories and adds a level of mysticism.
He's always had that throughout his history.
Yeah.
Is that element of mysticism because of the cosmic cube, because of the Red Skull.
And with Kirby, I mean, they hear the Captain America 106, where this cover. I mean, you got the classic Kirby kind of technology.
It almost looks like New Gods technology.
Totally looks like New Gods. Yeah,
and the big Kirby fists and everything. Very dynamic cover.
Oh, it's so good.
But Cap has had these great stories that run the gamut of different kinds of tales. Now, those we were obviously too young for those comics when they came out. When I was a kid, it was all about Captain America in the 80s, which was the Mark Gruenwald era.
These are when I first discovered Captain America. And these are actually very political and scientific stories.
Yep.
I don't remember a lot of Cosmic Cube going on in those. At the time that I came on, Kieran Dwyer was the artist.
Yeah.
He's still around today. He's still one of my favorite artists. I love the way he draws. If you look, it was a lot more.
He drew these big, because they're bulky.
Yeah, it's a lot more cartoony than a lot of stuff was at the time. Like the. Like Ron Lim or something like that. It was very straightforward. But in these stories, Steve Rogers had not been Captain America for a while. He became the Captain.
Well, let's talk about that because that's one of my favorite all-time Captain America stories. Captain America No More, and you like that story too.
Yeah, because the thing is that you'd often think Captain America is a shill or a tool of the government.
Well, that's one of my favorite things about him is people see him and who don't know about him say, well, he's just a tool for the U.S. government, but he's actually a tool for the U.S. people.
Exactly.
Very much.
Exactly. And so when shit goes down that he doesn't agree with, he's not just going to toe the party line. And we saw that with Civil War most recently, where the Superhero Registration Act was happening. He didn't feel comfortable with it, so that he fought against it and basically became a criminal. He became an outlaw.
Captain America No More, he's faced with a government he doesn't agree with, so he quits.
He
says he resigns as Captain America. He becomes the captain. And he goes off on his own. They pick a new Captain America, and that's all.
He also becomes Nomad too. Right?
Well, there was another time he quit before, became Nomad. But in the No More story, he becomes the Captain, which is he wears a black version of the Captain America suit. Yeah. Tony Stark makes him a silver shield,
and that actually eventually becomes U.S. Agent.
John Walker becomes U.S. Agent, and then there was a black Bucky, and there was some really wonderful political stuff going with a character who's black and is supposed to be a sidekick and is called Bucky. And they were like,
which is a slur.
yes, and they really explored that stuff. It was
No, there's a lot of
as
sort
a
of
12-year-old, I was like, this is amazing.
There's a lot of really interesting political stuff, but that whole era, they had a whole Captain America family going at the time. They had the Falcon was one of his partners. He had his girlfriend Diamondback. He had Rick Jones was always around when they brought in this other Captain America. At first, they were adversaries, and so but you had this whole extended sort of Captain America family. It wasn't just him; he had a whole supporting cast.
Well, there were all those great stories in the '70s of Captain America and Falcon. I believe the title was Captain America. And
it was
Falcon.
called that.
Yeah, and so Billy, and Rick Jones was his partner for a while, and
he looked remarkably like Bucky. So
Captain America's always had this great legacy of not sidekicks but partners. Starting with Bucky, then like we said, Falcon,
Hawkeye and
the Avengers. Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting to see that how that's developed. He kind of mentors other heroes. So.
Yeah, and those are great. And then there was a miniseries called Infinity Gauntlet, which we had talked about in one of our Vault shows, I believe. But that, to me, is it has one of the defining Cap moments of all, which is it's this big cosmic story. Thanos gets the Infinity Gauntlet. He can do whatever he wants.
It's unstoppable.
No, it's not a Captain America story. It's a Marvel Universe story.
Right.
But
great Cap moment, one of the best Cap moments. And in it, all the heroes go to the moon, I believe, to
this asteroid.
To the asteroid to fight Thanos, who is this god, he's a Titan. Is it? That's
Titan.
His, yeah.
He's a Titan, but he has the Infinity Gauntlet, which makes him infinitely powerful.
And one by one, he's killing all the characters, the most powerful and dangerous ones first. Finally, Cap is the last man standing. And he's got no superpower. I mean, he's got the super soldier serum, but he's basically got no superpowers. Up against a god with infinite power, and he walks right up to him and says, you don't win until the last man is dead, and I'm still standing." And that was a great moment. He's got no chance. He's going to die, but he refuses to give up and doesn't back down. And he dies, but then he comes back because it's Infinity Gauntlet.
Cosmic.
But great Cap moment. I remember even as a kid going, being like all shaky reading that.
That was really the first rally moment for me in the early 90s.
We should probably explain what the super soldier serum is. What is his power set? I mean, it's basically, from what I understand, he's like a really good human and a little bit better.
Yeah.
He's stronger, faster, is
Better
smart.
eyesight.
He's enhanced, yeah.
He's enhanced.
He doesn't get tired as quickly, but he's mostly just a dude, and that gets fueled by his willpower in a way.
Yeah. But then you get to the 90s, the bad 90s, where
he had a mech.
Well, the thing is, in the 90s, everything had to be cool and dangerous and extreme, so Captain America doesn't fit into that mold. So they gave him an armor set, which was just awful and a crime against humanity. And then finally they just said, you know what, we're going to just kill him. Yep. Because what else are we going to do with him? He's too corny for this 90s.
So they killed him off, big mistake. And then what happened was Mark Waid and Ron Garney teamed up on this here trade paperback called Operation Rebirth.
Well, the series, which was collected in the trade paperback.
It was in the pages of Captain America. And this was there was this quiet rumble in comics, like, are you reading Captain America?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely, that's what happened.
It's really good. Like, not only was the story really good, but the art was amazing.
Well, this is pre-internet, so you didn't have that. It was happening in the stores. I remember going into stores, people being like, are you reading Captain America?
You should check this out. And
which is funny because I'd always read him, but I'd finally painfully dropped the book because it had gotten so bad in the early 90s.
I picked it up because I fell in love with Garney's artwork, and I thought it was great, and then Marvel cancels it so they could let Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee do the Heroes Reborn thing, and
ruined it.
Cried foul and stuff like that. But
they brought it back and wasn't as good.
Yeah, it was bad. But that was kind of the first modern, late 90s, kind of.
Well, what they did was they said, Mark Waid said, Captain America's cool. He fought the Nazis. He punched Hitler. You don't need all these gimmicks. We're going to bring him back to basics, the tired cliche, but it worked.
And I think that this laid the groundwork for what's been happening in the 2000s. What Ed Brubaker's doing.
There were a couple of reboots as you went through the 2000s. I think it was with Marvel Knights for a little while.
Yeah, there was a Marvel Knights series. I mean, there's a lot of different
Captain America series. Art by John Cassaday.
Yes.
It's gorgeous, but the story didn't really hook people, and they said, all right, forget that.
Right.
And then...
So we'll take another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what happened in this decade.
Thanks to Netflix for sponsoring this episode of iFanboy. With Netflix, you can rent over 90,000 titles online, including lots of Blu-ray titles, with free shipping both ways to your home. They now have over 40 shipping centers, so almost all deliveries happen in just one business day. And Netflix plans start at $4.99, and as a new member, you can get a no-risk 2-week free trial membership by checking out www.netflix.com/iFanboy, and remember to use www when using that code.
The most recent version of Captain America is that as done by Ed Brubaker writing it, with art primarily by Steve Epting, but a few other people in there. And
Mike Perkins.
Yeah, this has been the seminal modern run of Captain America. Starting with the Winter Soldier stuff, where we find out that Bucky is miraculously not dead. with a wonderful story, an explanation of how that is.
A Russian assassin.
Yeah.
He also got knocked off the rocket, frozen. The Russians got him, turned him in, brainwashed him into an
And they
assassin.
kept him in a stasis, so he only aged when he wasn't in stasis, so he was basically the same age, and he has a robot arm.
A little bit older. He dies as a young
Yeah.
teenager. Now he's in his 20s.
It was during that stuff where the same kind of vibe about Captain America, similar to Wade and
The
Garney,
rumbling sort of
the rumbling happened when you guys started reading it. It's just like,
Well, so I was the only one reading it in issues, and then I bought Josh a trade paperback for Christmas, I think.
Well, the thing is, I had started with the last Captain America reboot, and I was really disappointed by it. So when I started again, I was like, I've had enough of this. Same thing that you said you did.
yeah.
Well, but I love Cap, so when they rebooted, I bought it again, and I was wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
And the strength of this is, again, it's sort of the Mark Waid style, is they said, let's take him back to basics. This one, they focus a lot on the soldiering aspect of him. A lot of World War II flashbacks with Michael Lark art.
I really liked the flashbacks.
Yeah.
The flashbacks were great.
For me, what Brubaker did that was the best was he made Bucky a super badass.
Yep.
He said, hey, if there's this teenage kid running around World War II as Captain America's sidekick, there must be a reason for it, because he's a badass.
And he said that, you know what? Soldiers killed.
Yeah.
They had to do that.
And the whole idea of bringing Bucky back, and we talked to Brubaker when we interviewed him a couple years ago about it, like, that's been a big, well, you can't, killed off Bucky.
Bucky was always the
back.
sacred cow. He would never be brought back.
And he brought back Bucky, and he pulled it off.
Yeah.
So.
Now, what's interesting is in the arc of this story has been, for this 25 issues that's in this omnibus, has been reestablishing Cap, bringing him back is important. Not reestablishing, but really examining why he's important and good, and then killing him.
Yeah.
And making you love him.
And then ripping your heart out, and he dies.
When he died, it was brutal.
And then Bucky assumes the mantle. But
so now Bucky's the new Captain America.
But what the best thing about it is just it's establishing why he's important. There's when he died, sort of the heart was ripped out of the Marvel universe.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, in the day he died, it was on the national news, and it was, that image of the hand with the bloody hand and the handcuff. It was right after Civil War had ended. He had surrendered, the famous Joss Whedon ending to Civil War that Mark Miller wrote. He had surrendered, and he's being brought up the steps of the courthouse in public to be tried, and he gets assassinated. And the past couple of years, we've been dealing with the ramifications of that. What does the Marvel Universe look like without Captain America? What happened to the Avengers?
Without Steve Rogers.
Everything fell
Rogers.
fell apart. Bucky finally picking up and taking on the mantle. I mean, that was a journey that we had
It was a great story, yep.
Yeah, and then now Bucky as the new
Sort
Captain
of faltered
America.
out as soon as he put the costume on. They had nowhere to go with it.
And now that led to, this past year, the big event of the summer, the big announcement was the Captain America Reborn, where apparently Steve Rogers came back.
Was not dead. He was actually lost in time.
In a very Vonnegut-esque.
It's a lot like what happened to Batman, actually.
Yeah, kind of. But, and
well, sort of. Batman's in one place. Captain America's been bouncing around time.
Right.
When Bucky first became Captain America, he put the costume, or the modified costume on. He carried a pistol, and everybody was up in arms about Cap having a pistol.
Bucky has no powers.
In fact, he has the bionic arm, which well, that's all he's got. The big argument in the comics community was, should Cap carry a gun? But if you read all these books throughout these years, he's almost carried a gun more often than not.
He's not Batman.
No.
And that's
Well, even Batman's carried a gun.
Exactly.
But he's a soldier, and so these Jack Kirby stories, he's mowing people down with all kinds of manner of guns.
The whole thing is that when I think about Captain America, I think of him throwing the shield.
Because he throws that mighty shield, and if you oppose that mighty shield, you must yield.
Right, exactly. But I picture Bucky with the machine gun mowing down Nazis, like he's doing on the cover here.
Right.
So I could see why that perception
smiling
is
when
there.
he does it, too.
Yeah, exactly. He's enjoying it.
He likes shooting.
I can see why that perception exists, but you're right. I mean, in these stories,
but
Captain
go
America
back to the Kirby books. He's got all kinds of laser guns, regular gun. I mean, he is a soldier first and foremost. He doesn't like to kill, and will always try not to kill. But if it comes down to where he has to kill, he will. He will do it if he has to, and that's always the misconception: is people see him as the wholesome, Boy Scout, Superman type, but he's a soldier. He was in World War II.
Yeah.
He saw the worst of the worst in humanity, and he lived through that. He will kill people if he has to.
So as I mentioned, this whole year we've had Captain America Reborn, which has been a miniseries by Brubaker as well as with art by Brian Hitch.
Yep.
I
enjoyed it. It didn't get a lot of praise in general, but
my biggest complaint is I don't understand why it's not in Captain America.
That's a good question. But I think what they're showing, we had to go through the period of not having Steve Rogers to show why we need Steve Rogers, and now when he comes back, hopefully we will see that he was needed.
Yeah, given something to do with Bucky,
and given what's going on with the greater tapestry of the Marvel Universe, with Dark Reign and with Siege coming up and all that sort of stuff, and the idea of Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America
coming back together.
I mean, that's really what we're kind of pushing towards. And this kind of Avengers-centric world that Captain America is a piece of.
Yeah.
But Brubaker this has been probably his best work that I've read.
This is his best work.
opus.
The first 25 issues I think specifically are his, and also Steve Epting's best work.
And the Winter Soldier one-shot
Yeah.
Yeah,
is
Winter
in
Soldier
here,
Winter Kills,
which is a fantastic issue. That's also new.
even you know, Steve Rogers was a big part of the Bendis New Avengers run. Wasn't
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. No,
So,
he's the one who started.
almost at the same time, you know, hand in hand, it was like that was.
It was a great Captain America
You know,
time.
Captain America, he needs to be on the Avengers.
Yep.
You know, he's the Avenger.
And Bucky is in the Avengers now. Their
Yeah.
headquarters is his Brooklyn
He's just kind of his
apartment.
place, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
So-
staying with him.
Like,
Anyway.
are you guys gonna leave?
So, I mean, a big testament to how good this is that I'm not a big Captain America fan, and I read this religiously. It's fantastic. So,
He's a great character. He's maybe not as hokey as you may have thought if you had never read anything by him, and he's a fantastic. He's got a wealth of stories.
it's not just a walking flag.
And if you can go back and if you pick up the Winter Soldier trades and that doesn't do it for you, then just don't worry about it. It's not your thing.
So, if you have any questions about Captain America or any things we talked about, you can shoot us an email at contact@ifanboy.com.
And you can call our voicemail line at 888-FANBOYS, which is 326-2697. Might use your voicemail on this show, on our audio show, or we might just listen to it. And then that'll be it.
Over and over. Get to ifanboy.com to comment on this show. Talk about your favorite Captain America stories, stuff you like, stuff you don't like, and also all the other great stuff on ifanboy.com, including all sorts of other audio and video podcasts. Tons of good stuff there every single day.
And if you're new to iFanboy, if you're discovering us after our little break, go to revision3.com/iFanboy. You can see all 130 some odd episodes we've done previously.
Plus
about
the
comics.
dozens
Yeah,
and
minis.
dozens of minis and
Yeah, all
all
that stuff.
hours of free content.
Good to be back. Captain America is #1. Do that. In 3, 2.
Captain America is #1. I love him. Good? Thank you. I have potatoes now.
All right. It's not racist.
I have a little mini bottle of vodka if you want to toss it to him. It's on top of the refrigerator.
Yeah, just
Я приглашаю пить водку.
That's an, I invite
was
you
the
to my
party
house.
favorite.
you offer it to us. There you go.
No, I give to you. Now? Vodka!
Vodka! iFanboy, brought to you by Vodka.